And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason. Today is Thursday, May 13th. We do the webcast here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We have an audio podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew, that's available on this podcasting platforms. Our webcast is available on Facebook and YouTube. Check out our YouTube page under A Nice Place to Brew. Like and subscribe. It really, really helps the show. We've got weekly episodes going back more than a year now, so there's plenty of content talking about all things beer and beer making on each and every episode. So check us out. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and our social media links, we can be found at Nice Place to Brew and A Nice Place to Brew. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great week. My co-hosts are missing in action at the moment, but that's okay. The show carries on. We are taking all of your home brewing questions tonight. Leave a question in the comments. We will answer on the webcast, so don't be shy. Bring us on here, and I'd like to welcome my partner in crime, Mr. George.
He's always so punctual. You guys are lucky.
It's important. Listen. It's important that we do what we say we'll do, and we do the webcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, sharp. And that time waits for nobody. So here I am.
It does, and I've been slacking lately, and I apologize for that, but you're picking that up, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank you much. Thank you for pointing that out. Paulie may or may not be on tonight's webcast. We shall see, but okay. We'll build a discussion around. If he jumps in, great. If not, that's okay too.
Sounds good.
George, start off with the important things. What are you drinking tonight, sir?
Yeah, I just put it down over here, but it is Lion's Head Pilsner.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, tasty little Pilsner out of Wilkes-Barre, PA. So, yeah, it's quite tasty.
Nice.
What about yourself?
So, an oldie but a goodie.
Okay. Oh, Yuengling.
Oldie, okay. Meaning America's oldest brewery.
Yeah, like super old. Okay.
Yep. I got to tell you, this may be the best glass of Yuengling I've ever had. And I've had this can for a good long time. And maybe it's just because I'm, in the right frame of mind and health for just a cold beverage. And this is just hitting the spot just right now.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
Oh, man, I remember when we went on that trip and how many cases of Yuengling did not survive.
Are you talking about the Florida trip?
I am.
Yes, you're right. That was our go-to in the condo beer. That's true. Oh my gosh.
Traditional lager and black and tan, and so many Yuenglings.
Yes, there was. I don't think we kept a pile of empty bottles, but that would have been impressive.
We had them lined up on the counter at one point, and then I think we did something with them. But yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. So what's going on this week, man?
Well, I am preparing for another trip, so I won't be on next week, but I'm also finishing up my Big Brew Day beer, and I gotta ask, like, where would the homebrewing world be without US-05?
Wow. That is a brilliant question.
Right?
And honestly, I think the implications are not very good.
No.
For anybody.
It is mine, and I know a lot of other people's go-to emergency repitch yeast. Yeah, when in doubt yeast, exactly. And so I showed you guys last time that mine stalled out at 10:26, and so I put up the flag to my homebrew club and asked if anybody had any US-05 laying around. Thankfully, somebody did. Nice. And I repitched that, and I was a little dubious. I was wondering, is this going to take off? It was like 2 days, not a whole lot happened. Woke up the next day, came down to my office to do some work, and all of a sudden I see bubbles come out of my Play-Doh. And I'm at 64 bubbles per minute right now, and in 3 days, about two and a half days, I've gone from 1026 down to an estimated 1005, and it is still bubbling away. So I think that might be off just a smidge, but I think I'm going to have some wicked dry saison here once it's done.
So you said 1026 was at the time you did the second pitch, and you're down to 1005.
1005, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it's
Wow, that's going to be really dry.
I know it's
Wow.
it's really great. I'm excited about that. So
Okay. What was your original?
my original was 1050.
Okay.
So,
So
I'm
you
looking at
got
like 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5. That's about right.
Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. Are you going to do a diacetyl rest? Yeah. Probably don't have to. I mean, what's the temperature at right now?
Probably not. Right now it's in the high 60s. I think last time I looked, actually, it was 70 degrees. Which
So
is
you're pretty
on the
much in
higher end.
diacetyl rest temp range anyways.
Exactly, and it's been flirting with that for a while. And so if it's done before I leave, I'm going to cut off the bottom and let it secondary. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to let it finish up, clean up, and settle out while I'm gone, and then I'll do a quick secondary on it afterwards.
Or just cold crash it.
Or just cold crash it. Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, to be honest with you, I mean, cold crash, or I should say secondary is going to do one of two things for you. Number one, it's going to drop your final gravity by a couple of points, which it sounds like you don't need.
Right.
And second of all, it's going to cause it to settle out more than what it would be if you didn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, your cold crash is going to do that anyways. So
Yeah, so I may just take it out to my chest freezer out in the brew shed and crash it down to, freezing and
I think that's the
transfer
right
it that
move.
way. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, and so hopefully in the next 2-ish weeks I'll have my cinnamon saison, and I had about 2/3 stick each of them of cinnamon, and I think I ended up putting like 5 in. So hopefully it'll be good as far as it's good cinnamon flavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 5 sticks for 5 gallons. I think that'll definitely be enough to bring some flavor.
Yeah. So I did have something I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I've been doing some research because I've been having less efficiency than was predicted and what I like so I've been looking into different ways to increase my efficiency. And so here's kind of my plan.
Okay.
So with my mash, right now I do a 1-hour mash. And usually what I do is I dump everything in and start the recirculation with the Herms setup and allow it to just recirculate through and maintain the temperature. So I've decided I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to do a 10-minute dough in prior to starting the recirculation. So I'm going to put the liquid in, stir it up so there's no hot spots, cold spots. Let everything come up to the right temperature for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to start the recirculation. And then what I'm going to do is every 20 minutes, I'm going to pause it, just unplug the pump, give everything a stir, and start it up again. Just to make sure that everything is mixed together right. Again, no hot spots, no cold spots, and keep everything moving. And then at the end, this is something that I've never done, but I'm not sure if you have, Jason, is I'm going to do a true 10-minute mash out step.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just sparging with 170 degree water right away, I'm going to bring everything up. I'm going to add water, bring it up to 170 degrees, and let it sit for 10 minutes. And then start my sparge.
Okay. Okay.
And so the theory there, I've been doing some reading on that, is that bringing that up and letting it sit at that temperature loosens things up and allows the wash of the sparge to more effectively wash the sugars off the grain.
Yes.
So then I'll continue to do my slow sparge, about half hour, 40 minutes into my kettle and boil from there and see what that does. So it's going to add, I'm going to go from a 1 hour mash to almost an hour and a half. But I think in the end, it's going to be worth it.
Nice.
What do you think?
Okay, so I do share. I think your direction as far as to going with the mash out, I think, is a good one. I think that slow build to the stop of enzymic activity at 168, I think, is a good, healthy thing for the mash. Yes, I've adapted to that as well. After you remember the many years that you and I were brewing where we just didn't think it was necessary.
Right.
I do think it makes a difference, and I think the detail that you had, I think, is spot on, and I think it's, I think that's a good call to incorporate that into your brew day. Can you educate me and the listeners a little bit about that dough in step that you mentioned?
So I don't know if you ever looked at the mash profiles. A lot of times they'll add a step in the beginning and like an extra 5 minutes, and to really allow everything to kind of come up to temperature. And so really that's what that step is meant to do. It's meant to allow for time for that to come up to temperature and really sit there. So I'm going to do my initial strike infusion, stir it up real good, and then just allow it to sit and come to that temperature before I start moving it around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Is the water addition at a different temperature for that?
No, it's your initial strike.
It is the initial strike? Okay, got it.
Yeah, so when you're doing a single infusion, a lot of times people will kind of not necessarily skip this step, but not really think about it because your dough in is basically your entire mash step. But since I'm doing somewhat of a modified Herm setup where I have it moving through my coil and everything, I think it's actually worth it or potentially necessary to really just let it sit for a minute, come up to temperature, and have everything be ready before I start the pump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I got a lot to learn on this subject. That's a good one.
So, yeah, Brew Your Own and Zymergy had some good articles on it, on increasing your efficiency. Another thing they recommended, chucking a handful of rice hulls into your beer to increase your flow and everything,
Okay.
which is totally doable, and I would recommend as well. And what was the other thing? Slow sparge was the other thing they said. So I'm already doing that. Yeah.
You have some kind of arm too to just kind of spread the sparge water around.
Yeah, so it's not all in one spot. So yeah.
Okay. You've really built a very impressive brew setup. And I know it's
coming along.
come together over time, but I tell you, the progress is very, very impressive.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I just need to taste some of the beer and make sure the quality is making its way to the finished product.
I know, right? Yeah.
Speaking of that,
yes.
did a certain box show up?
Something showed up today that the dogs barked about.
Ah, okay.
It might be on my front porch, whatever you're talking about.
Oh, okay. All right, just checking.
Yeah. I did not know something was coming, so I can go see if it's on the front porch.
No, that's okay.
No? Not necessary? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's brewing in George's world now?
That's what's brewing in my world. Yeah, what about yours?
Okay, all right. So I've got a brew day that's planned out for Saturday.
Okay.
Well, I say planned out, and I'm being very, very generous when I say that. So I'm brewing an old recipe, and I still need to buy all my ingredients, make all my plans and stuff. So there's still a whole lot to do that I've got to do between now and Saturday morning when this starts off. But yeah, this is going to be a mini batch, which I've used the mini keg in the past for sodas. So this will be my first time making an actual beer in the garage, less than 5 gallons.
Okay.
So I don't expect that to simplify my day too much because, all the steps are the same.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I'm doing this I'm doing this for a competition.
Okay.
And it's no mystery. It's the Route 66 Summer Homebrewers Competition, which I have submitted my registration information, so I'm officially in. So there's no danger of me being pushed out for being late registrant. So anybody out there who's thinking of joining the Route 66 Homebrew Competition, go on to Facebook and type in RT66. That's how to find Route 66 Old School Brewing in Wilmington, Illinois, and find all the registration info there.
So why are you mini kegging it?
Just because I'm brewing for a season that's not the summer, and I don't quite want to commit to a full 5-gallon batch out of season.
Okay.
So now this could go very well, and 3 months from now I may be making a 5-gallon batch of it, and that's great, awesome. If that comes together, sure.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. So
right.
that's what's in the plans. My most recent beer went on tap on Sunday, so it went into the Keyser. I carved for 3 days, and I brought my first sample of it to the Joliet Brewers Guild monthly meeting last night. So my first taste of this beer was a little different than I expected. It's definitely a beer that's to style, but getting some butter notes to it, which is not a great sign.
Yeah.
But it seems odd that this beer, of all things, would have any buttery character because I had a long diacetyl rest in this one. And then I did an incremental temperature drop down to cold crash. So my hope is that this is going to be just one of those cases where the beer just takes some time in a keg to build its final character. And this has happened many, many times throughout my homebrewing life. And I've seen some good product as a result, just with a little bit of patience. So
yeah,
I'm not panicking. So we'll see. We'll see what the coming weeks / months bring.
Okay.
So other than that, the next beer after that one is going to be a hazy. So I am going to have to regain my comfort level with my new tools, aka my pump, because if you're making a hazy, be ready to whirlpool, be ready to dry hop, be ready to do all that stuff that makes your brew day just quite a bit more complicated.
So yeah, and I'm doing one too, so we're gonna have probably potentially dueling hazies going on.
Cool.
Yeah. So question for you, when you're still using an immersion chiller, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you put your immersion chiller into your kettle, 2 things most likely happen, right? Number 1, you lose your boil because the copper goes in, cools the liquid, and it goes below boiling for a little bit, right?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on how intense your boil is.
Right, or at least it slows your boil.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing that tends to happen is any residual water that's in the coil tends to boil out of the inlet and outlet, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I found 2 suggestions on how to solve that. Because it happens to me all the time. First one that I do is about 20-25 minutes beforehand. Now I clean I clean any dust or anything that's on the coil off before I do this, but I actually hang it over the top of my kettle. So I take like the last coil and hang it over the lip, and then the other side where that extends out of your kettle is the other side, and it like hangs over the top of the kettle. And so as the steam comes up and whatnot, it warms up the coil. Not to full boil temperature, but it warms it up enough that when you dip it in, you don't lose your boil. It doesn't, it's not cold when you put it in there. And so, yeah. And the other thing, does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. This is during boil, you said?
Yes.
Or yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
you usually put it in like last 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So 20 minutes beforehand, I hang it over the
yeah.
kettle,
Okay. 10
and then
minutes to build up the heat. Okay, all right.
yeah, so that way when you put it in, you don't lose your boil. And then the other thing I do is the lines that come out, I don't hook them up to the hoses right away. Instead, I've been hanging them over an open keg and hanging them into an open keg. So any water that comes boiling out gets jettisoned into that instead of onto the floor, potentially onto your feet, or into your hoses, because boiling water into a hose is not the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
So I hang it over and into the opening of a corny keg, and it just goes right into there.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because no matter what you do, I mean, I guess maybe if you like forced air into the coil or whatnot, it's hard to drive.
Yeah.
It's hard to drive all the water out of
It's
the
true.
coil.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you come up with this, or where did this come from?
Yeah, as I was brewing last time by myself,
Okay. All right.
I've just
So
been
this
thinking
is
about
this is
these
your MacGyvering.
Yeah, that's when I
most
do
recently?
that's when I do all of my MacGyvering, is when I'm brewing by myself and have nothing else to do. So the other thing I was thinking about, because a typical coil is about 3/8 inch copper.
Okay.
So I was thinking about getting some shark bite connectors. They make 3/8 inch copper, PVC, what have you,
Yeah.
to 1/2 inch threaded shark bite connectors. And so I'm thinking about putting those on, and then I can use the quick disconnect hoses that I have for the rest of my system in order to be able to put water through and get it back out and everything. And then, because right now on mine, I have the regular 3/8 inch line going to a barb where I can put on my hose.
Yeah.
But as we both know, the constant heat and cooling of that breaks that down, and it causes leaks that you need the screwdriver for and things. So I'm trying to find ways that I can eliminate that. And the other thing that I'd like to do is have that line go from the outlet into I found a 20-gallon poly, it's like a cube kind of thing for storage, so that I can eject the water out. It's nice, clean, potable water into there, and I can use it for my next brew day. So instead of just dumping it out down the sink,
Yeah.
I can go into that, and then any excess I'm gonna have it vent into the sink, and then yeah, and that's gonna and so then that'll become my water for the next time. Because
Okay.
I did the math on it, and to make a brew day, I typically, and I think this is probably pretty common for people, especially people that use an immersion chiller like we do, we use upwards of 40 gallons.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And most of that is wastewater from chilling.
Yep.
It takes about 15 gallons of water to make 5 gallons of beer, all said and done. But the wastewater is close to 30 gallons.
Yeah.
So if I can recapture even 20 of that for use next time, I'll have a little bit extra, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I can recapture what I need to use next time, that cuts down so much of the waste, the potential waste and everything.
Yeah. It just makes good sense all around.
Yeah.
From a water conservation standpoint, from a spending standpoint, just all around. I'm interested in this topic because, I mean, I know we talked about this at great length, about the no-chill brewing method, which we don't need to go over those details again. It's been well addressed here on the webcast.
Yeah.
But what are the other things that people could do, to quote unquote recycle chilled water like that? So
Well, yeah.
and I'm I'm sure there's some really interesting stories about how people made use out of that water.
I'm sure
I'd be
there are
interested.
too. Yeah, I mean, things that come to top of mind for me is, we can certainly use it for cleaning.
Yeah.
And I typically do that is I'll use the eject water to clean equipment and things
Yeah.
while while it's cooling. So at least it's used that much.
Yeah.
And it it's stored in an HL in a potable container so that you can use it for your next brew day. And I'm sure there's other places we can use it as well.
But just to be clear, what you were mentioning, and let me make sure I know this. You're talking about hanging on to that water for whatever the time frame is until your next brew day?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, totally get it. Totally on board.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking about doing is putting it in a container specifically designed. It'll be like a plastic container specifically designed to handle potable water over the long term.
Okay.
You find them a lot on like survivalist pages and things. Sorry.
So, are we talking about those type of plastic containers that the no-chill method down in Australia, New Zealand was using?
I don't.
That real thick plastic.
It is like a really thick plastic. Here, let me share what
Okay.
I'm looking at here with you.
I'll bet it's the same thing.
It could be. So
Yes.
it's one of these guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So then, it has an outlet down here.
Look at those tops.
I know.
Nice.
And so so my plan is to like get a weldless fitting for 1/2 inch and put a quick disconnect on the outside. Put one over here and have it go up to the sink as an eject. So once it gets filled, it just goes right into the sink.
Okay. All right.
And then as I need it, I can pull it out from the bottom here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for 20 gallons, it's about $100, and it's 20 by 20 by 14. So actually, I think it will fit under my sink, which is kind of my plan at the
Okay.
moment. Yeah. But and I'll tell you, this is the end product of how long was I doing that? Like a 4-hour session of me sitting on the couch researching how to build a cistern and how to treat the water in a cistern. It's because eventually I think it would be really cool to brew and chill and everything with rainwater. So you collect it in a cistern, and the stuff you're going to use for your brew day, you have to treat. So run it through an RO and a UV system, and collect that in a container like what I just showed you. You use that for your brew day. The rest of the water you can pull directly out of your cistern for cooling and throw it out into the world, or because you're just collecting and net zero use of water. Yeah. So the most complicated thing there is treatment. And
I was going to say, yeah, you're going to have to redo your analysis because, the chemical makeup of that rainwater, who knows?
Well, okay, so I thought about that because that was part of it. Is okay, how am I going to know what the hell's in this water?
Yeah.
And that's where the RO and the UV come into play. So the UV will kill anything organic in the water, and then the RO will remove any solids. So you'll have effectively no chemicals. You'll be working from no minerals. So you'll be working from straight RO water, a true blank slate.
Okay. All right.
That you can, and then I have a pH meter, so I can make sure that the treated water is at like 7 pH or whatever it's at, and work from there.
Okay.
True RO, zeroed out water, and then you just calcium, gypsum, baking soda, all that stuff to where you need it to be. I told you, like 4 hours I was thinking about this.
You are showing your MacGyver side more than possibly I've ever seen with you. I'm totally impressed, though. Like the idea of converting rainwater to beer is magical.
Yeah, it's the best use of rainwater, really,
Yes,
if you think about
exactly.
it. So,
I feel like this needs to be a website. Rainwatertobeer.com. We need to register that domain right now before somebody else does. Seriously, I think this has some potential.
yeah, now it's not going to be the cheapest thing in the world. A good RO system. Now you can use like an
Well,
undersink.
I'm looking at cisterns here on Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
These are not cheap either.
No, they're not.
Well, in
And now,
$1,000.
but I wouldn't need like a 500-gallon cistern, like which is what most of them are.
Yeah, that's true.
For our purposes, I'd be looking at like a 50-gallon cistern, which would be much easier. It's basically a glorified rain barrel, is what I would need.
Yeah.
And then work from there.
But yes, that and the RO system, yeah.
Right. That
What's the price tag on a RO? I mean, is there a homebrew equivalent of an RO system? I don't even know this.
Well, there are, because a lot of people have like under sink RO systems that they take in their city water
that's true.
and
That's true.
they run it through RO. And those systems aren't perfect. You're probably not going to end up with like truly zero water.
Right.
And the other issue with RO systems is they tend to produce wastewater that you have to get rid of somehow. But those are getting a whole lot better. It used to be for every gallon of clean water you got 2 gallons of wastewater. Now it's kind of switching. They're figuring out how to make them more efficient. So every 2 gallons of good water you get a gallon of wastewater.
Right.
So, low end for something like that is probably about 300, all the way up to like whole house systems. For a small house like myself, in our water usage, it would probably be about 1,000, 1,500.
Yeah.
It would be super overkill for my house. My simple 2-stage filter for sediment and particulates is perfect for the water we have. But for rainwater, I'd want to be a little bit more aggressive. So you're, looking at a cistern build, which that's probably $500. RO system, probably $700. Storage containers, another $100. Pump. So, I mean, probably $1,500 to $2,000. So yeah, it's not. I'm not doing it tomorrow by any stretch of the mind. But if anybody wants to sponsor me, I'd be happy to give
A nice
my
place to brew
PayPal.
at gmail.com. That'll reach us both.
But I think it'd be really neat to be able to do that. They do say that in the relatively near future, water could become a relatively tricky thing for people.
Okay.
So I think if we can be a little bit more sustainable in our practices, then all's the better for us. So and for the environment. So I think I'm gonna research different ways that we can do it in a cost-effective way that your average home brewer can do. So.
Well, hats off to you.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really could see this being something to follow along with, because I mean, you're right. This is not a cheap endeavor, but I do agree that I think the conservation of resources conversation is going to amplify in the future. I don't see it, staying steady or getting quieter than what it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think home brewing is an example where there's some needless waste of resources, and you just described it very, very well. So this presents exactly like how we could do this differently, so that it's that it makes more sense and that it's more environmentally friendly, and it becomes something that you can still make good beer with.
Yeah, and it's not just the homebrew scale. Yes, on a homebrew scale that's the case, but imagine if we could come up with a good way to do this that commercial breweries could use, that they could collect rainwater brew beer from it and not pull from the local aquifer. And yeah.
Let's say hello to a couple of listeners. Hello,
Okay.
Uncle Rick. Thank you so much for...
Uh-oh, we lost Jason.
Yep, excuse me.
Okay, there he is.
Rick, thank you so much for tuning in, and great seeing you at the JBG meeting last night. Hello, Brian from Georgia, tuning in once again. Hey, Brian, if you can hear this, could you please send a message to our A Nice Place to Brew Facebook page? We have a question for you that we'd like to bring up. So no rush, but yeah, we'd love to talk with you.
Okay.
So, anyways, hope you're doing well this week. Hope you're enjoying a cold beer, and also point out that we are answering homebrewing questions tonight. So please leave us a comment. We will answer here during the broadcast. So
Rick brings up a good point. He says that a pond pump works well, but a pond pump won't push through a counterflow. He's right. But you know what will is a submergible sump pump. So that's what I was thinking of using and that's what most commercial cisterns end up using is basically kind of a sump pump that you put in and does a couple things for you. One, they're very strong and they're designed to push upwards because they're usually pushing out of basements and things like that. And the other thing is they have floats on them, so they won't run dry. So if your cistern is low, it will run down and shut itself off. So definitely thought about that.
sump pump.
Sump pump.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never
4
thought
hours.
about that in the context of homebrewing.
Yeah.
You are full of knowledge tonight, George. I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What else?
So I discovered a new yeast lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're up here in Dulles. They're called Jasper Yeast Lab. And right now, a lot of what they're doing is commercial. However, through my local brewery, who is using them, they do want to get into, reach out to the homebrewing community. So he's going to get me in touch with them, and I told him that my next one I'm brewing is a hazy. He's brewing a hazy as well. So I'm going to take some of his yeast and do a starter and use that on my hazy.
Okay.
So yeah, Jasper Yeast, and so they've got a bunch of different stuff. They actually have an NE IPA that is, fruity, juicy, hazy, and yeah, so they're out of Dulles.
Wow. Nice website.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Cool.
So,
Well, I'll tell you, if that's coming out of one batch, there's going to be no shortage of yeast there for yours.
I wouldn't think, yeah, because he's going to get a commercial pitch, and so he told me he'd just get a little bit extra, and I get a couple billion cells, make me a starter, and go from there.
Nice call.
Yeah.
Have you thought about how strong you want your hazy to be?
So I did. Right now, I have it set at 7.4%.
Okay. All right. So you're into the double category, which
Am
is
I?
where it's where a lot of those are.
Well, in Beersmith, with the New England IPA style guide, actually says between 6 and 9.
For a hazy? Yeah.
For a New England, yeah.
For a New England, no, that's about right. But I mean, you are in gravity range where like a double IPA would be. That's my point.
Yeah, like a traditional West Coast
Right.
IPA, that
Right.
would be a double.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, I was talking with my brewer friend, and, I posed him the question I know I've talked to you about a few times is, I am not terribly comfortable with calling a New England IPA an IPA anymore.
I kind of agree. And I don't think we're alone either.
I think it needs a new name.
Yeah. Should we start this?
I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the New England part.
Yeah. It's
I mean, it
where's
refers to the
from.
region where it originated, so
Yeah.
you keep that.
You can call it like the New England fruity.
Yeah.
That might not catch on with certain
Yeah.
certain circles. But yeah. Let's see. What does the style guide say in the description here? Can that give us something? Provisional style. An American IPA with intense fruity flavors and aromas, a soft body, smooth mouthfeel with an opaque and sustainable haze, less perceived bitterness than a traditional IPA, but always massively hop forward. The emphasis on late hopping, especially dry hopping with hops with intense tropical fruit qualities, lends to the specific juicy character for which it's known.
Yep.
So take IPA out of it. Just call it a New England.
New England hazy. I tell you, Brian, I think has it. New England hazy.
Yeah, maybe that's the case. Yeah, New England hazy. I think that is. You heard it here first, people.
Yeah. All right.
It's now called a New England hazy.
So get on Twitter, get on Reddit, get on whatever your platform is.
Mm-hmm.
New England hazy. We'll even put a hashtag out there.
Hashtag New England hazy is
Yes.
not IPA.
There you go.
Yeah. It's a little long, but I think it'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Or even hashtag it's not IPA.
There
Have
you
those
go.
side by side.
I like
Yeah?
it. I like it.
Yeah. See, that's just what this webcast needs is controversy.
Controversy.
And I think this is what we're doing.
Oh, man.
What else? What are the other homebrewing questions are out there? Don't be shy. Leave us a comment. We will talk about it here.
Absolutely, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, here's the other part of hazies that you can't not talk about, and that's the hop additions. So
Right.
I'm sure timing and additions and stuff is probably still a moving target, but do you feel like you're close on what hops you would plan on using?
Yes, I'm going to stick with what we talked about before. It's going to be a mix of Citra and Galaxy.
Okay. All
Since
right.
that's really
Good
going to
choices.
get the notes that I'm looking for. I thought about the cryo that Polly talked about.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit and not do that. So,
Okay.
What about yours?
I don't know.
Okay.
I had a conversation with some people, and it was suggested that I use a Cavaic style yeast,
Okay.
which is not a bad idea. I'm not ruling it out. The Cavaic styles to me, like that's just not something I gravitate towards.
Right.
You know, those warm characters bring things out of beers that I generally don't like. So that's kind of my opposition, but there is a lot of common ground between some Cavaic ingredients and hazies. So I'll be open-minded about it.
Okay. Yeah, Brian, Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic, that is a very popular
Yes, it is.
combination.
Yep.
So I'm one of those for whom Simcoe doesn't work very well. I get that whole cat pee thing going on. So I avoid it because that's not my bag. But yeah, that's very, very popular. Yeah. So,
And all
yeah.
late editions. Yeah, we
All
did
late-
settle on those revisions last week, right?
We did. I made a bunch of revisions. My first edition is at 10 minutes. And then
Yeah.
I have a 10-minute whirlpool at 110 degrees.
Yeah.
And then high Kreuzen and second hop during the primary, towards the end of the primary.
Okay.
That's when I'm doing my additions. So
No boil, all whirlpool. Yeah.
I've
It is a
heard
thing.
that. I've heard that. This is my first go at it, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. But this is gonna be an expensive beer.
It is not cheap. No, it's a lot of hops.
A lot of hops.
Yep.
Oh man.
And it's a lot more things to worry about, too. dry hop additions, monitoring those, making sure that you have an appropriate cold crash because it's going to be nasty if you don't.
Right.
So,
I'm going to bring in L phone here because I want to show you. I think my fermenter is just endlessly entertaining right now, the way it's set up. So I gotta show you.
It's on the Play-Doh?
Well, it is, but it's not because of the Play-Doh. Yeah. So, mute. Enter studio. Okay. So, do you see this?
Yeah.
That is 2 blankets. The one is an electric blanket underneath, and the other one is a really fuzzy, thick blanket on top. But it's like a damn Jedi in how it's like robed up. So it just is entertaining to me. And then I'm gonna go off mic here because I'm gonna zoom in on the Play-Doh so you can see it.
Okay. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Wow, those bubbles really stand out.
Wow. And it lights up too when it goes.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I forgot about that.
So.
All right. So, is there such a thing as tiny, like less intense bubbles than that, or is that's just how it happens?
Sorry.
Well, traditional airlocks can have some like tiny bubbles. They won't be just as visible, intense bubbles like that. Is that just not a thing in the Play-Doh?
It's not really, and that's a function of the bobber inside and how it's shaped.
Got it.
You know how most bobbers kind of tilt and they're not straight up and down? This one has grooves on the side, so it's straight up and down. So every bubble that comes out is of relatively the same size.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It just is entertaining to me. It's sitting over there in its robes.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's well worthy of the category. Do you need this to make good beer? No. But it's still pretty cool.
It's still pretty cool. And I got a deal on it, so,
All right. There you go. Play-Doh, if you want to sponsor us, send an email to aniceplacetobrew@gmail.com. There's more things we can say about this, and we love giving trials to new products, too.
Yep. Yeah.
George is a fantastic spokesman.
I'm a big fan.
Is a fan.
I am a fan.
If you need proof of that, check out our episode dated March 6th. It's our last weekly episode, and George really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. All right. So,
one last thing before we close up. I sadly had to throw out a batch of mead again this week.
No, what happened?
Just
poor bees.
Didn't do anything. Just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I do have a little bit of honey left. So
Okay.
I've been trying to make 3 half-gallon jars is like my quote-unquote batch size, with my second failed one in a row. I think I've got enough honey for 1 growler, so I'm just going to give 1 growler a shot and see if this can take
Before you do
off.
that, before you start it, why don't you send a message to our buddy over at Unpossible and see if he's
done.
Already done. Okay.
Yep.
Has he come back at all?
I've taken all his suggestions. I've done them all. Like, this is just everybody's mystery as to why this is not taken off. So what I'm going to do differently this time is I'm going to heat the liquid honey combination and then let it naturally chill down.
Okay.
So I'm trying to rule out that this is not just a bad mixture of liquid that's not allowing the yeast to take off in fermentation, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This
All right.
I have stumped a lot of people with this.
Yeah. I mean, honey is sugar. I mean, it's kind of
Exactly,
foolproof, So, okay. I decided something earlier this week too that I wanted to tell you before we sign off. Part of my wedding gift to you while I'm out there is I'm going to work on that conical fermenter you have, your catalyst, and we're gonna get that ball jar off the bottom so you can use that thing again.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Because mine was on there for a while, and I was a little concerned because I was like, oh man, Jason just had all these problems. But,
Yeah.
It was on there pretty good, but I was able to get it off, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get Jason's working again.
All right. Okay. All right. You may want to start training. Between now, you got a little over 2 months.
Right.
So you got the proper structure that will be needed to peel this thing off.
We'll
I will
see.
do the same because it's going to take that much from both of us.
Is it the connection to the cone, or is it the connection to the jar?
Here, I'll go grab it.
Okay. This has been a conundrum for me. It's like, how is he not able to use this? Like, what is... Oh, okay. So it looks like maybe it's the connection to the jar. Okay. And that's just stuck right on there, huh? Okay. We'll get it working, folks.
So yeah, that's that.
Okay, so your working theory is that jar is fused to the bottom of that thing, huh?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, so if indeed we were able to, which would be awesome, I wouldn't rule out using it again.
Okay.
I'll be open-minded.
I'm a
And
big
honestly,
fan of
like
them.
I have more than enough headspace in my fermentation chamber that it could still be used.
You know what you could do? Because I accidentally did this. When you close off the fermenter, I closed... Okay, I'm not going to be cute about this.
Oh, boy.
I'm just going to tell you the story. I closed off the conical with that lever that you guys saw and separated the beer from the jar. And for some reason got distracted and didn't take the jar off and replace it with another one in case there's any dripping. And I guess the yeast wasn't done doing its thing and ended up building up pressure inside the jar to the point where the jar shot off the bottom of the
Shut up.
and there was yeast tube all over my fermentation chamber.
Oh my God.
So they definitely recommend, and I second this based on past experience, that when you cut it off, take off the jar, and they say that you don't really have to replace it with anything, that it'll hold it, but I would, just to be on the safe side, you can replace it with another jar in case anything does drip through. Or like maybe one of the small ball jars.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's designed that you can put any standard mason jar onto it.
Yes.
Any one that's threaded.
Yeah, standard wide mouth mason jar. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, Rick, that's not a Jason valve. No, sorry.
So,
Good thought, though.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it unscrewed itself from the pressure and like or what, but the threads
is
are still
wild.
intact and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there was enough pressure to do something with those threads. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Is that about it?
I think so.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to A Nice Place to Brew. We will be back here next Thursday, May 20th at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. George will be... No, I'm not. What's wrong with me? I'm not going to do that.
Okay. I will not be here. I'm not sure
George,
where he was
that's
going.
right. George will not be. Oh, okay. All right.
I
Okay.
will not be here.
I may be doing this webcast on my own. We shall see. And that's
we'll get
okay.
you. We'll make sure you have somebody here, even if it's... I don't know. We'll make sure somebody's here,
Okay,
so
all
you're
right.
not garthing it up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was doing that a little bit last week, and yeah, Paul, he called in from the road. He's a good man. Anyways, we will be back here. Then we will be answering your home brewing questions. If you'd like to tune in more before next Thursday, you can check out our YouTube page for all of our past episodes. We've been doing weekly episodes for more than a year now, so check us out there. Like and subscribe. Check out our audio podcast, A Nice Place to Brew. It's available everywhere. Social media, A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew, and website is www.niceplacetobrew.com. Don't forget your hashtags. New England Hazy. Hashtag It's Not IPA. Started right here on A Nice Place to Brew.
Right here. Yeah.
Hope everybody has a great weekend. Before we sign off, let's raise a glass. George, take us out.
It takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers.